What's up, Adam? Making this video for you because you seemed like you are interested in the solar panel stuff or solar system stuff. Cheers to that. Some Karl Strauss. So as I wait for my fire to burn down to cook my meal, even though I could cook it in the RV, but just more fun under the stars here, I'm going to show you around the solar system. If you have a minute. If not, no worries. Anyway, so this is the 6, I don't know if you can see them. Hopefully you can see them. I'm gonna trust that you can see them. 6 320 watt solar panels adding up to 900 or 1920 watts of solar. They're grounded into a 8-foot ground rod on the corner in the far corner over there. They're wired 3 in series, and so 2 sets of 3 in series, so 2 parallel series, and they're each 24 volt panels, so that's 72 volt nominal panels, or arrays, and then wired in parallel. So they're each at optimal current. They're about 10.8 amps, so that's around 22 amps that are going to have to run, and I got to run it about 15 feet over to the shed. Now this is all underground, comes from there over there, and then under, actually, into the under the shed, into the shed. So basically I just ran it all out there. All that is pretty simple, like it's called MC4 connectors that connect the solar panels. Let me put some lights on here, powered by solar energy. There we go. I don't have to use a headlamp. So the wires come in through, down under there, like I said, under the shed, and then they come up right underneath this bench, and then right here. So this is actually the wires from the solar panels. They're 10 gauge because 10 gauge can handle 30 amps, and they're about 22 at optimal voltage. And I've got a dual pole disconnect, so that means that I can shut off both negative and positive at the same time. That's a regulation by the National Electric Committee, something, NEC. So that's on right now. So photovoltaic energy comes in when their sun's out, and then it runs out and it goes to the charge controller. Now the charge controller is rated at 150 volts and 70 amps. And since we only have 22 amps coming in, that's fine. I've considered, okay, well, what if I want to put in more solar panels, get more wattage during the day, charge my panels charge my batteries faster. I would have issues, I believe, with the voltage limit here, because if I was to wire 4 panels in series, the optimal voltage is actually much higher than 24 volts each. It's more like 38 or something like that. So anyways, it would basically exceed 150. So I'd have to have another charge controller and wire 2 charge controllers in order to be able to handle the higher voltage. So maybe if I was to do it again, I would have bought a bigger, even than this, which is already a pretty big, but I probably would have bought an even bigger charge controller that could have handled solar panels wired in series. So if you're going to do that on your shed or something, or your workspace out in Kashawa, maybe you think about that. So anyways, but I digress. You got the power coming in here, this, the black line, as you know, the electrons flow from negative to positive. So it comes in through the charge controller, which then converts the 72 nominal, probably more 100 something volts into what the batteries can handle, which I've got them wired in 2 in series, and then so 3 sets of 2 in series. So we've got 24 volt battery bank, but each of these batteries is 100 amp hours. So since they're wired in series, it's actually 300 amp hours at 24 volts. So, and then all the wiring is done just like according to the spec by how far stuff is and what the the amperage coming through and what the power is. So like these guys are all like 2-aught cables. The ones going to the charge controller from the battery are, I put 2 gauge. It's overkill. Probably could do 6 AWG. And then from the panels is the 10 gauge. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you got the energy from the solar panels that can flow into the batteries, or they can flow straight to the inverter, which will power all the appliances. So I got a 3000 watt inverter, and it's 24 volts, so it has to match with whatever the battery bank voltage is, or you might have to do some sort of a conversion. I don't know if you can do that, but and then from here, I got the inverter. I actually hardwired in a 30 amp cord, so 10 gauge really, but AC power cord, and I just hardwired that out to the RV. That way, if I want to pull 3000 watts at 24 or at what is it? I don't know. Whatever it is, 3000 watts at 120 volts, right, AC, then that is going to be above 15 amps, which is your typical 12 AWG, 12 gauge, extension cord like this guy. So since I am pulling more than like 15 amps sometimes in my trailer, I needed a bigger cord. So I hardwired that in. And this cord here, actually, as you can see, has a male end to it. I just cut that off an extension cord, and this is the input version of or part of the inverter. I can plug this into a 120 watt generator, 120 volt generator, excuse me. And I can back charge the batteries that way if it's like a cloudy day, or if I've just used too much power, whatever. Okay, and then one last thing. The good thing about these batteries that I got is that you can charge them down to, or you can run them down to 0. And they have just like a lot of internal mechanisms that allow for you to not worry about them too much. So anyways, they're really good. I think it's just a big step up from the lead acid batteries, which you have to take care of in a lot of ways. Like, for example, I can turn these on their side, whereas lead acid, you have to have them positioned just standing up. I can put these any way I want. They can be way hot, way cold, like, doesn't matter. As an amateur electrician, that's important to me, that I know that they're safe. And I've got everything grounded, actually. So I actually grounded the AC, the inverter, to a ground rod, and the panels to a ground rod. And then, of course, the RV has its own grounding system to the chassis, or if there's a huge short, it'll actually go back into this inverter, but the inverter is grounded to a pole outside. So that's a 10-minute video for you. You probably knew everything there, but I just wanted to show you what the system ended up looking like. It turned out good. Pretty stoked. Hope you're doing good up in Carmel.